Hello, my love. It has been a minute since I've been able to sit down and do a reading, so I'm so happy to be here now. And I feel like a lot of us have just been going through it. Like, I know that this death and rebirth cycle has been so potent for so many of us. And for some of you, maybe you're like, I don't even know what's going on. I just know I feel like crap. And for others, you're like, I know exactly where this is because I've been down this road before. But every time, it's deeper shedding, deeper realizations, just more and more and more. And so I wanted to kind of lift us up today. My deck is facing up. That just shows what kind of week I've been having too. Like, I'm right there with you. It's been rough, but my intention for this readings, as I've said before, is for it to kind of be like a watering hole of all of us like coming together. We all have massive purposes. We all are breaking cycles. We all are doing so much for the good of ourselves, for the good of one another. And we all need a moment to replenish, right? I actually wrote a few channeled things before this, and some of it is just kind of like little pieces that I hope will fit into this reading. But there was a little blurb that I want to read, and I actually might just start reading that. So it says, "You are releasing all the wounds that you cannot take with you. Release what is internal before focusing outward. The outward is a distraction, as when you release what is within your vessel, you will come out of alignment and know for sure what in the external cannot come with you. It will give you the ick. To listen within you, you must be still. When you are still, you come into knowing. That knowing gives you the answers you seek. The outside answers leave you unstable as they do not stem from the inner knowing." And so that just kind of came like pouring out through a channel. It's not normally how I speak, which is how I know like yeah, this was like a channeled message, but the part about giving you the ick kind of made me laugh. But that's so true, right? That's what happens when we come out of alignment. We just get so disgusted with the things that we've been settling for, or the situations, the places that just do not feed our souls. And once you hit that moment of like, this is giving me the ick, this is not where I need to be, I can see how much it's draining me, I can see how much it's not aligning with my purpose, like that is kind of that mental switch that you need to let it go for good. And I think that's kind of what the channeled message is saying as well. It's the idea that so many of us, and like this might be exactly what you're going through, like looking for the answers outside of you, right? Like watching another reading maybe, or seeking these healers and people outside of you, which can be a good thing, but you have to be in integrity with yourself to know, am I doing this because I'm like searching for a specific answer? Am I doing this out of a place of like I feel connected, or is this coming out of a place of just like needing to know and needing to have all the answers and feeling like I have to control things, right? And I feel like we all know that feeling where we are frantically looking for signs or looking for answers outside of us. And it's so true. We can hear something that resonates and hits us to our core, but we cannot give our power away to letting other people or other things outside of us make the decision. We only know that we can make the decision when it comes from within, right? It's like having, maybe the best of friends who tell you that you can't be with this person. Like sometimes that drives you closer to the person that you're with because people are telling you not to be with them, right? Like, so it's that kind of feeling where it has to come from within. And so that's kind of an interesting place to start with this reading. But what I was saying before is my intention for these is always to be a place where we kind of replenish. And that was one of the words that I wrote down earlier. But what I wanted to focus on today is just coming to a place where your guides are telling you what they're proud of you for, right? Connecting to the mother earth, just connecting to this deeper wisdom, right? And um with everything going on with like the survivors coming out with their own list and all of that, like I feel like we are seeing such an uprising of like feminine energy, but like the true feminine energy that includes anger and that includes a deep sense of power and that has like this full knowing that they cannot be put down by the patriarchy. And so I don't know where that exactly came from, but it feels significant. Like maybe you are also a survivor of some kind. maybe something about that situation, it could potentially be a little bit triggering to like read about it and see it online, but it also feels like it's something that is almost healing a part of you, like this idea that people can, it's never too late. I'm hearing it's never too late to speak up. And so whatever situation that might fit into in your life, if it does, this might just be for someone specific watching, know that it's never too late to fight back, to harness your voice and to harness your power and to use it to move forward, or to use it to even seek justice. And justice was actually one of the things that I wrote down too. So, in fact, while I have this list that I just keep referencing, I'm just going to read out all the little words and like phrases I have here. And then through the reading, we'll see if they connect, or maybe they'll just stay here at the beginning. So, the first thing I wrote is, you're better than you think. You have more energy than you think. Replenish. Fire and water. Jealousy. Rain clouds. Free fall. It isn't good to drown, you must release. Two of Cups, Three of Pence, Justice card, Fury, and Rage. And so I hadn't pulled any cards before this. This is just like what came out of the channel. So it'll be interesting if we get any of those cards here. But the goal of today is really to remind you why the universe is proud of you, why spirit is proud of you. So let's kind of see if we can tie all these different messages that are coming up together. Okay, so the first card was the Three of Wands in reverse. We have the middle card is the Ace of Cups upright. And then the last card that we have right now is the Nine of Pentacles in reverse. And so we're talking about why spirit is proud of you. So what I'm seeing here is with the Three of Wands, I'm hearing small-minded, and I know a lot of you have had to grow up around people or communities that were incredibly small-minded, but the idea of like you having to create the vision out of nothing is really coming up. Like you had to, I'm hearing inner compass, your inner moral compass. That is something that you actually fought for, and or it's a truth that you've had since you were young that you have always held with you. And so many people say, oh, you're taught these, negative things about the world. You're taught, to HATE people, or to, look down or on certain people, or to categorize people. And it's so interesting because while it's true that that is taught, there are so many people that are also always connected to a deeper knowing, and that just never resonates with them. And that is you. You have so much to be proud of in how you see the world, because people literally tried to train you not to be that way. And it could be society as a whole, but I feel like for you, it's like I'm hearing inner circle. So this could be, the family that you grew up with. It could be, maybe you had some friends or your friends' parents or teachers. Like I know I had teachers that should not have been teachers trying to pass on insane messages that they never should have been talking about to the kids in their class. So even things like that, like it just feels like you always were connected to a deeper truth, and you always knew that there was more, and you were so clearly able to see through the BS that the people around you were trying to convince you was true. And even if some of that was layered on top, like I'm seeing like almost like a turtle shell and like layers being put on top of that, it feels like you were always protected in this turtle shell, right? And so even if people tried to cover these things, like, convince you of these things or lay them on you or try and force you to think a certain way, even with like religious indoctrination, right? I'm hearing the word cult. I don't know if any of you could have been in one. As like a child, or having some sort of like forced perspective, forced political beliefs, religious beliefs, like something like that is really coming up here. And you always like were able to kind of protect yourself, or it could have also been universal protection around you as well. Your guides, your ancestors, your wise and well ancestors, like connecting you to this deeper truth. And you also, I'm seeing you like build the shell, right? Like with hammers, like you had to create, these coping mechanisms or whatever to get through what you were taught, but you knew you were protecting something, and that something was your inner truth, your inner voice, that piece of you that no one was ever able to penetrate. They were never able to get to the shell of the truth because you always held on to that. And even those years or moments that you were confused or thinking back and forth, or even that grief, that separation, right? I'm seeing like a heartbreak open. The idea of like knowing that your parents, your family, your hometown, whatever it was for you, has this way of thought, and you do not you cannot be that. You cannot. And for a lot of us, especially as children, like we did become that for a while before we knew what was going on, or we have memories of even enjoying some of these things, but then like the truth kicked in, right? The things like you actually wake up and you have like a conscious moment. Some of you I'm hearing were teenagers when this happened, but you were never able to give that part of you to them, right? And so that's where I'm going to stop with that card, but that felt really, really the religion thing is a huge piece of this, right? So for a lot of you, just not feeling connected to what it is that everyone was teaching you. And so that heartbreak moment of like, no matter what you say or what you do or how much I love you, you cannot break this. And that is like really hard because we do love our families. We do love our hometowns. Like that inner child in us, like we were raised there. We didn't know anything else, like anything different, right? So of course we're born with that feeling of love for the people that raised us, even if they consciously are not doing right or doing what's best for us. We cannot distance ourselves from that love. And the Ace of Cups, I'm really getting connected to the words that I wrote down at the beginning. So the words replenish, rain clouds, and the fire and water piece, and then the it isn't good to drown, you must release. What I was seeing when I was writing down rain clouds was obviously like rain starting to kind of fall, but like in this kind of misty, foggy, like slow release, drizzly kind of way. And the image that brought up is like what a cloud goes through, or what water goes through before it is rained back down onto us, right? So, water representing emotions, if we think about that from the emotional landscape, you suppressed and you held so much in and you held so much in, but then you allowed yourself to release, right? And that's something that your guides are also incredibly proud of you for, is you broke the cycle of like suppression in your family. And maybe you grew up around, I don't know if you're a femme. If you are, maybe you had a lot of like women or other femmes in your family lineage that you saw them, or you heard stories of them having to suppress, having to repress, having to put their own emotions aside. And when people do that, that can come out in really toxic, awful ways, right? Like when someone suppresses, like at first it seems like they're the victim because they are not able to express, they are not able to bring out what is truly within them, or they don't feel safe to do that, right? But think about what happens when people sever that emotional connection. They lose their empathy. They lose their ability to connect with other people. They lose their ability to even care for their own children, right? So there's like a sense of like, I'm seeing like a Queen of Swords, right? Like that kind of idea of someone in your family who is very shrewd or very short or very unemotional, very matter of fact. And when it comes to something like having a family or raising kids, like there has to be some capacity for emotions. There has to be some capacity and just some patience in general for any of that, some understanding. And if they are not able to show that or teach that to anyone, then that cycle is created where then the next person passes it down, the next person. And so no one has learned how to regulate their emotions. No one has learned how to navigate their emotions, but you broke that cycle as well, right? Like you have, learned how to express, you have learned how to share your emotions. And it's so interesting, the blackbird on this, I was like a foot away from a raven this week. It was so cool and it was so big, and when it started to fly, like I could hear how thick the feathers were, and just like it was such a loud sound of like this slow flight that it was taking. And so ravens might be really significant for you. Maybe you've been seeing a lot of crows as well. But that gift of releasing and suppressing again that rain is what restarts the next cycle, right? Of like then like water beginning to evaporate again. So not only did you create did you open up a space, almost like a portal for you to release these emotions into your daily life and in like a healthy way, but then that also opened space up. It opened up the sky to then like bring up more water, to then take on more of what's going on. So again, the words collective healing and empathy are really coming up here. when you're connected to your own emotions, you then recognize those emotions in other people. You have that empathy. You have more mirror neurons that are reflecting back to you when you see someone else experience something. So, quite literally, that cycle of it's all about me and it's all in here and it's all compact, and that scarcity around it, and that lack of generosity, and just that, like, I'm this self-evolved, self-absorbed like thing. You broke that cycle, and now not only are you able to be more compassionate and kind with yourself, but you also have this ability to show up in that way for other people. That space that you opened up now allows space for other people's rain clouds to come through, and because you are alchemizing it, because you are able to know, okay, well, I've dealt with so many other people's, frustrations this week, or so many other people's conversations and that heaviness. And that very well may be happening to you in this week as we speak. Of you've had a lot of, I mean, just the news cycle in itself, but even conversations, people around you going through heaviness or sharing that with you. Some of you may need this reminder again that it is okay to release that. It's coming to you to be alchemized and to be reprocessed. And I think that's where I wrote fire and water, rage and fury, because that alchemy process is so essential of taking sadness, even if it's someone else's, and because it is now in your cup, because it is now in your capacity, in your vessel, now that can be alchemized into fury, into power, right? Because anger and rage and fury are catalysts for action. It has always been that way, right? Even that message about something giving you the ick, when you know something is not right for you, when you know something is not meant to be anymore, it it makes you angry. It makes you want to change, right? That anger, that action of like I've had enough and I'm done, right? Like that feeling is the alchemy of anger. And so where you need this reminder is not to be sitting and wallowing in this sadness, but instead to realign it with power, right? So, how, like, are you going to be showing up in the streets? Are you going to be, teaching or like creating something? Creating is important as well, just any form of creation, but a creation with the intention or with the alignment for other people to benefit, for other people to be able to find their own power. That feels really significant here as well. So notice in your body, like do a little bit of somatic work this weekend if you can. Notice where in your body you're holding this tension, holding this sadness, and give it permission to be released, but also ask even your guides or the universe for help in alchemizing that. Okay, and then the Nine of Pentacles in reverse. I'm very much, of course, seeing this in terms of finances. Okay, first I'm hearing like a very specific message around that of just like learning how. Hearing learning how to do your money, learning how to do your money. So I think that means just taking control. Okay, I don't know if this is going to resonate with anyone who's watching, but I'm getting this very specific example of like a parent opening credit cards in the child's name and like ruining their credit score, right? Something where not only were you not taught about finances in school and at home, but you were almost like actively it's like your family or your parents were actively trying to hurt you financially. So I'm going to keep looking at this card and seeing if there's another message, but that feels really significant for someone here. If you are South Asian, or if you are um, a, a child of immigrants or low income background, um, sorry, I'm like trying to channel in the message, but anyone from those backgrounds, maybe it was like, okay, so you grow older and you get a job, and immediately all of that money is going to your parents, or immediately all of that money is being used without your permission, or they're counting on your money, or something where there's like almost like deliberate attempts to sabotage that situation. So maybe the whole time you were growing up, it was all about getting a good job and getting a high paying this or that. But when it was actually there, and when you actually had the autonomy to have that job, or you were coming up financially, or whatever that was, instead of you being able to have that autonomy, they tried to take that from you. And all of a sudden it's, oh, you're too good for us, you're too this, you're too that. And that feeling, it feels like there was like, I'm seeing someone's like head come up above water and then be pushed back down, right? So this feeling of like, I've finally made it, but it's still not mine. This feeling of not owning, not having ownership of what you've earned. Yeah, not having ownership of what you've earned. So maybe that's kind of that bridge where this could be a very direct financial message for some of you. And for others, it could be this idea of ownership and autonomy, not ever feel, I'm hearing your body, not ever feeling like your body is yours. Um, yeah, not ever feeling like what you have is yours. And like I'm hearing perpetually renting. Maybe some of you feel like you are on borrowed time is something else I'm hearing. um so that's a really kind of interesting message. I'm gonna keep shuffling and see if anything else comes up about that. Okay, got the 10 of Cups. um Yeah, no, this is. I'm not seeing a connection to the Nine of Pentacles in reverse. So I feel like that was the message. You have, remember, this is what your guides want you to know. Remember that you have autonomy over everything in and around you. You have autonomy over your body, over your finances, over your time, over your daily experience. And while a lot of us are like, we live in a life and within capitalism and do all these things where we feel like we're trading our body for money, trading our energy for money, all of these things. But there is a deep reminder here, and for some of you, this may start you on a whole new journey of reclaiming that autonomy and reclaiming that ownership over your time, money, and energy. But know that it is within you. That power, that autonomy starts from within. And again, that's relaying to that blurb that I read at the beginning of, you have to find it inside of you first. The more that you own it, the more that you will start to create the path of like, okay, this is what's not currently aligning. Or even if it takes a while, like, okay, I'm going to create a plan to get out of this situation. Like those, but all of that again connects to that idea of power, connects to that idea of like breaking these cycles that you've already broken, right? So this is also a reminder, like, you have been breaking cycles, you have been doing the work, and you have done so much already. So when you find yourself getting swept away in the day-to-day life stuff, like, know that you have done so much. And to just take a minute here to reflect and look behind you, right? Like the Three of Wands is looking ahead of them, this but behind you, right? Look at the expanse of what you have traversed in this lifetime, what you have overcome, what you have been through, and reconnect to that pride in yourself for always connecting to your truth, for always seeing past the BS that you were being taught, for allowing your emotions to be important, to be validated, right? And I feel like maybe there's some men watching this as well, because so much of this is so femme focused, like in general in the healing space. But I feel like there's maybe what men watching this are masks who are very connected to their emotions, and like huge like pat on the back for that too, because the patriarchy affects all of us. Like, it is not just something that affects women and femmes. And so to be able to see that, again, that being one of the truths that you didn't align with, not seeing what is wrong with having emotions, and even creating spaces where maybe your friends can connect, or you're a safe space for like other masculine people in your life, or maybe even returning some of that energy to your father. This also feels really specific, but if that's you, like, you should be so proud of yourself, because it does start with people like you creating that change and normalizing conversations and normalizing connection and friendship among other masks or masculine energies your age, right? So that is huge, and that's really, really important, and that also strongly came through. This 10 of Cups is just saying, like, again, you have the power to create what it is that you seek, what it is that you want, and to know that there is so much that you have to harness from within. And also, I'm hearing, be careful what you wish for, be careful what you ask for, in the sense that if you are always asking to just be happy, if you are always asking for things to always just be easy, like, that is not like in some ways yes, but life is always going to have cycles. We are always going to have to be accountable. We are always going to have to learn lessons or see hardship, even if it's not in our personal lives, in our communities, in what's going on around us. So this idea that you can always be happy, you can always be perfect, like you're chasing the wrong thing. And instead, what you should be chasing is the idea of stability. And that is something you can choose to feel. You can choose to feel stable. And again, I'm not trying to say like that your circumstances don't matter, but as much as you can, that feeling of stability, or at least like a sense of control, is important to establish here, right? Like, not a sense of control. What's the right word? Just like a sense of, um, I choose to be peaceful in this moment. I choose not to add extra stress onto this moment, right? Because we can't control our entire environment. And if we could, most of us wouldn't choose the circumstances that we have currently, but you can choose to not add more stress. You can choose to do what's better for your body, to try and regulate your nervous system in little bits and pieces, as much as you can. Like, there is power here. So I'm hearing, don't leave your power on the table. Don't leave your power on the table. That is where I'm going to leave this message. I hope that it served you. I hope that it reminded you that you have so, so, so much to be proud of yourself for. To even just take a week of time to replenish, to feed back to your soul, to do things that nourish you is going to go a long way in that alchemy process, in that regeneration, in that connection to yourself. So I hope that you spoil yourself in some way this week. And with that being said, if you would like a personal reading to shed light on what's been going on for you, I have one-on-one sessions available online. I also have voice note recorded readings where I send you an email with a recorded message. All of that is going to be at blacksheepexperience.com. I also have self-worth coaching sessions available for the month of September and October. You can book those now as well. And I also have some very exciting news that I'm going to be sharing in the next week or so. So if you don't already, follow me on Instagram so you can stay up to date on everything else that's coming out at Black Sheep Experience. And I love you very much. Remember that you are worthy whether you believe it or not.